Chapter 7. Roaring his way down the stairs, Jeremy's jaw reaches its limits as he yawns ferociously. Lack of sleep through the night has not fared well for him, as his eyes do not open until he reaches the bottom step leading into the kitchen. The toll it has taken on him is physically clear. Happily, Jeremy realizes there is no smell emanating from the room. Thank God she's not cooking today, he thinks to himself as his eyelids' tight grip begins to loosen, allowing him to see the entirety of his surroundings. His nose had not failed him as he looks over to see his mother scooping a spoonful of store-brand high-fiber cereal from her bowl and up into her mouth. To one side of her, he can see the book she had mentioned the night before. Not at all wanting to talk, he reluctantly slides past her, toward the cabinet above the sink which holds the various breakfast cereals eaten by the residents of the household. Reaching up, he grabs his favorite cereal, packed with sugar, but also high in multiple vitamins and minerals necessary for a still growing young man. If it weren't for the high concentration of vitamins and minerals, his mother would never agree to such disgustingly sweet cereal to be allowed within the walls of their home. It's been his favorite since he was small enough to only want it because of the cartoon characters littered all over the box art. After grabbing his cereal from the cabinet, he closes it back, turns around and heads for the first drawer to the left of the sink. Looking down into the drawer, he ponders his choice of spoons. There are small, large, and comically large spoons within the drawer. To this day, he still has no idea as to what the comically large spoons are used for. Grabbing the regular size spoon of a large size, he closes the drawer back. Backing away from the area near the sink, he turns around to face the refrigerator just behind him. Pulling the door open, he looks around within its confines, but there does not seem to be any milk left. "It's over here," he hears his mother call to him from her seat over at the kitchen table. Pulling his head from the refrigerator, he looks over to the table where his mother sits and sees it there, sitting next to the cardboard box that contains her choice of high-health, low-taste cereal. Jeremy feels foolish for not noticing it earlier as he walked into the kitchen. He was too focused on the book that lay on the table next to it. Closing the door to the refrigerator, Jeremy begins to walk toward the table. After dropping off the box of his cereal on the table, he passes the table to get to the cabinets which stand behind it, next to the entrance to the staircase leading upstairs. Again, he finds himself faced with a choice of sizes. This time, it is in the size of bowl he would like to house his cereal in for the short time before he devours it. Again, he chooses the large size and turns around, taking up a chair and having a seat at the table. All this while his mother has been quietly eating her cereal while reading the morning paper. "I can't believe she still reads that," he thinks to himself as he opens the box of cereal and begins to pour it in the bowl. After pouring a good amount of cereal into the bowl, where the mound peeks up over the top of it, Jeremy reaches across the table to grab the half a gallon of milk from in front of his mother. As he pulls it closer, he notices that it's soy milk, and the regular kind they normally have in the refrigerator. Disliking soy milk, Jeremy lets out a huff as he begins to pour some into his bowl from the twist top opening toward the top of the carton. Noticing the unhappy noises of her son, Jeremy's mother puts down her paper to look over at him. "Come on," she begins. "It's not that bad," she continues. Grabbing the carton off the table after Jeremy places it down on the tabletop, she holds it in one hand and points to the label with the other. She turns the carton in her hand as Jeremy reaches back to the counter behind him, grabbing a rag that happens to be lying atop it to clean up a few drops of milk that had spilled. "You see, it's even the vanilla-flavored kind," she smiles at him. "You never really disliked the vanilla kind too much, right?" She finishes as she places the carton back down on the tabletop. After Jeremy finishes chewing his first spoonful, he places a spoon in the bowl and looks back at his mother. "We don't need to get this stuff anymore," he says. Jeremy's mom stops chewing and looks at him for a moment. Jeremy picks up the handle of a spoon and moves the cereal around in his bowl. Staring at the floating rainbow-colored little flakes floating and sinking in the now discolored soy milk, he then begins to speak again. Dad was the only one here with lactose intolerance. Jeremy looks up at his mother. Since neither of us have that allergy, we can actually start buying the regular kind of milk. He finishes up as he shoves the large spoonful into his mouth. That's true, his mother answers back. But this is a healthy alternative, and she lifts a large spoonful herself up toward her mouth. I've actually grown quite fond of it, as the cereal and milk disappear into her mouth. They both sit there silently, eating away at their select cereals, neither wanting to take the particular conversation any further. She doesn't want to let anything of his father go, whereas Jeremy can do without this one particular remnant that his father left behind. It takes nearly 10 minutes for both of them to finish their particular bowls. Jeremy's mother then places her hand on the book to her left and slides it slowly across the table from her to where Jeremy is sitting. There is no title on the cover, only a picture of a black bird with 2 sets of wings on its back. Jeremy knows this book all too well. His mother purchased that book not too long after his father first started having nightmares. I don't want to talk about it, Jeremy says sternly as he picks up his dishes and begins over to the sink. As he begins rinsing out his bowl, he hears his mother talking to him from behind. But Jeremy, you can learn a lot about what's bothering you if you just look in this book, she says, but Jeremy has already placed his bowl and spoon in the dishwasher. Silently, he walks back past the table to the front room, ignoring his mother's pleas to listen to her. As he grabs his book bag and starts toward the front door, he hears his mother call out loudly. Jeremy, she calls out as she rushes from the kitchen. When your father started having nightmares, Jeremy cut her off as he pulls his keys from the deadbolt lock. I am not my father, he barks back as he pulls open the door and walks outside into the bright light, slamming the door behind him. But, his mother calls out, that's why I thought it could help you. She trails off to herself as he leaves her alone. She clutches the book tightly to her chest, and a single tear falls from her left eye and down her cheek. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying the story and how it's going, please subscribe so you can get every chapter as it comes through. Discuss in the comments, plot threads, and where you think the story's going. Share with anybody you think might find it interesting. Until then, I'll see you next video.